I think it is. I think it did restart.
Can't hear you.
It
Can you hear
did
me?
start recording. We're on. It's recording.
Cannot hear you.
Can everyone else hear us?
I can hear you. I can hear everybody.
Can anyone hear Steve? I cannot hear Steve. Oh, it's
Thumbs
on
up if you can hear me.
mine.
It's,
I can't hear. That's weird. Okay, here we go. a deaf me will start this meeting. Good afternoon. This is the afternoon session of the April 6th, 2021 Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting. For those watching or who will watch, we had to move item 11A, which was the quarterly update on the Affordable Housing Action Plan, to the morning to accommodate schedules. And can you hear me? Okay, because Mr. Mokraisi just texted me and told me to log off and log on again. So I'm getting mixed messages. At any rate, we had to have that meeting, that agenda item this morning. So if anyone is here to listen to that item, we encourage you to listen to it on the webcast from tomorrow morning. It will be available. And we began that item a little before 11 a.m. this morning. That puts us on item 10A, Public Works, to begin our afternoon session. And this is the first reading and setting of a second reading and public hearing on ordinance number PA 1385 in the matter of amending the Lane County Rural Comprehensive Plan to add a quarry to the inventory of significant mineral and aggregate sites and other items, because there's too many to read off. And to lead us in this discussion, we have Deanna Wright, Associate Planner. Deanna, if you would.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Good afternoon, Chair and Board of Commissioners. This is Staff Planner Deanna Wright. Staff is requesting approval for a first reading and setting the second reading to April 20th, 2021. This agenda item consists of a remand hearing to the board on matters that the Land Use Board of Appeals remanded under Save PD View 1 and Save PD View number 2. Staff will present a full staff report during the second reading on April 20th. There will also be opportunity for public participation during the hearing on the 20th. The board agenda cover memo and packet is available for anyone to review on the board's agenda webpage. I'll just give a quick board history and not really a staff report per se. The last time the board saw this item was in 2018, where the board approved the first remand request. And prior to that, in 2016, where the board originally approved the application. Both those decisions were appealed to LUBA, and LUBA remanded those county decisions. Thus, we do have a new ordinance proposal in front of the board, where the board must motion on the remanded items as listed in the cover memo. We can discuss the remanded items at the hearing. I do want to point out that only 2 of the 5 board members were on the board when this matter was last heard in 2018. So that does mean that at least 3 members will need to participate and become familiar with the file and the remand items, because it's a quasi-judicial application and will need a quorum. Thus, I point you to the section in the staff report that speaks particularly important items to be reviewed by the decision makers, and that's laid out on page 18 of the cover memo. I'll also state that the ACM, the cover memo, is bookmarked in, for the attachments to assist in the review because it is a larger packet. So in closure, I'll reiterate that the record is pretty large and the previous hearings were well attended, so we can likely expect that to happen again on the 20th. That's all I have at this time. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Are there, I can hear now. Are there any commissioners that would like to either comment or ask questions at this time? Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like a clarification if I'm understanding from staff that this was something that was presented by staff to prior boards, and now the three of us that were not on the board at that time need to get up to speed by reading through materials. And I'm just wondering if there's any significant difference, if there was discussion or opportunity for questions that first go around that we might be missing out on, or if this is, because I'm just process-wise ensuring this is sort of the best way for us to be prepared for the meeting on the 20th. To have to read through materials without context or opportunity to ask staff for clarification in the moment.
Chair Bernie and Commissioner Trieger, this is Andy Clark in your County Council office. I'll go ahead and weigh in, and then Ms. Wright can as well. Yeah, we're at a situation now where we need at least 3 commissioners to take part in the decision. And since we have 3 new commissioners, it would make sense for all 3 commissioners to get up to speed on the application so you can take part in the decision. The getting up to speed involves reading most of the, or I should say the important material from the 2 prior trips through the county. Most of that stuff Ms. Wright has put in the on the agenda page in her memo and attachments to her memo, and that includes the prior ordinances that the board has adopted and the LUBA decisions, remanding certain pieces back to the county. That will provide a background. The issues in front of the board this time through are those matters that either LUBA has remanded or didn't make a decision on. What will not be before you are matters that have been decided by the board and either not appealed or sustained by LUBA. And we can talk in more detail at the hearing and afterwards what those issues are. But I guess just to summarize, there'll be plenty of opportunity to discuss the issues relevant to your decision this time through after the hearing and in deliberations that follow. And in the meantime, if you have questions from reading the material, feel free to jot those down and we can talk about them as they come up at the future deliberations. I hope that answers the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there anyone else? I want to thank Commissioner Trieger for asking that. I'm now no longer used to being referred to as a new commissioner, but in fact, as it relates to this particular matter, I am. This was a tremendous amount of reading. At the second reading and public hearing, I, at least for one, now I understand I was deaf there for a while, but I, for one, would really appreciate more contextual remarks that direct us to the specific pieces of the voluminous material so that we all feel that we're on the same page and making a discussion with knowledge and information. So if there are no other questions, comments, clarifications at this point, what else do you need, Deanna and Andy?
We will need a motion to set the second reading and public hearing as indicated in the agenda memo if Commissioner wants to make such a motion.
Thank you. The chair will entertain such a motion. Vice Chair Farr.
Chair Bernie, can I ask Mr. Clark, what is the date of the second?
Actually, Ms. Wright is probably in a better position. I think it's
Yes.
April 20th, is that right?
April 20th at 1:30, time certain.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion. I'd
Please.
like to move passage of the first reading and setting the second reading and public hearing on ordinance number PA 1385 with the associated copy. And the date is the second reading will be April 20th at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second? Based upon my hearing, it has been moved by Commissioner Farr and seconded by Commissioner Bozovich that the first reading is approved and the setting of the second reading will be April 20th, 2021, 1:30 p.m. Did I get that correct, Commissioner? Thank you. Is there discussion to the motion?
Andy Clark again, I just want to point out that second reading also, there's a hearing at that time as well.
Thank you, Andy. I apologize.
Which was included in my motion, Chair Bernie. Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passed for the setting of a second reading and public hearing on ordinance number PA 1385 for April 20th, 1:30 p.m. time certain. Moving on. We are on now item 12, Commissioners' Business. A, announcements. Do commissioners have any announcements they would like to make at this time? Yes, Commissioner Buck.
I just thought we may have skipped over 11B, county administration announcements.
Oh, we don't care about those. No, I apologize. Thank you. We did. I apologize. So as soon as we're through this one, I'll bounce back to that one. Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no announcements, I apologize, Mr. Mokrahejski, but announcements from you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple brief things that I'll share with you. We this week have wrapped up our final budget decisions for the proposed budget. If you recall, four kind of steps in our budget process. The first is the county administrator's proposed budget. Second is the budget committee's approved budget. The third is the Board of Commissioners adopted budget. And then the fourth are the supplemental budgets that the board amends throughout the course of the year. So that first step in our budget process for next year is the county administrator's proposed. That's what we're finalizing here this week, and looking forward to presenting that to all of you and the rest of our budget committee in late April. Also, just to say that we continue to work on researching, waiting for and researching guidance from the U.S. Treasury on the potential use of American Rescue Plan funds, as well as monitoring the discussions around the proposed infrastructure bill that I think, as you all know, Congressman and Chair of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in the House, Peter DeFazio, is helping to lead in Washington. So we're monitoring both of those and working. Our executive team is going to be meeting later this week to begin pulling together various policy documents that the board has already approved, such as your strategic plan and legislative priorities and principles. Our goal is to bring to the board discussion at a future meeting around establishing some priorities and principles for use of federal funds that will give staff then the ability to be flexible and nimble in going after both money that could be available through the state and through these federal packages. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, knowing that there are a lot of these conversations that are happening and questions and things circling around in various parts of the community and the state. And I want you to know that your staff is on top of that. There are things moving very quickly, but we intend to bring a discussion forward for you at a future meeting. So that's it for now, unless you have any questions for me. And thank you, Commissioner Buck, for having my back on my announcements.
That makes one of us. Are there any questions for Mr. Mokrohayski? Okay, 12B, future board assignment requests. Are there any future board assignment requests? Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. It just occurred to me as we had our housing action plan first implementation presentation this morning, I haven't heard anything about our climate action plan since being on the board. I realize it's been a quarter. I know from tracking last year, there were a lot of quite frequent updates because it was internal work, and therefore I'm guessing that meant there was more that we could do and move faster on. But I'm really a question, and depending on the answer, then it's maybe a request for assignment, which is when might we hear again on progress to date on the implementation of our climate action plan? Thank you.
Do you want to take that, Steve, or would you like me to?
You can take it, yeah,
Okay.
but I'm happy to add anything.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Trieger, the one was a body of work that was contracted and then presented to the board as a plan, and now we're actually seeing progress. The second was a new advisory council, which has taken a little bit of time, more than I would like, but nonetheless, I'm in the minority, a little bit of time to develop its bylaws and what have you. And actually, yesterday, I requested of the chair and the vice chair of the Climate Advisory Committee to meet with Mr. Nystrom, who's the staff to that group, and ask how long they would, when they would like to make updates to this body. I learned from Mr. Mokrohayski that once I have that, which will be before the next meeting, one of my future board agenda requests will be to request that those updates occur at a schedule that they tell me. So it's like mind merge. They're on it. That's the answer to the question. And is there anything you want to add, Mr. Mokrohayski?
That was perfect.
Are there any other future board assignment requests? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Chair Bernie, we just did a mind merge. Could we do a agenda item merge a little bit and step back to announcements, which I have one very joyful one.
May we do that once we're through this item, Commissioner?
Go from B back to A? Okay, sure.
It's like, yeah, we're jumping around now. So thank you. Are there any more future board assignment requests? Then Vice Chair Farr, have at it.
Thank you. As promised, a joyful announcement. Our three children, Patty, Evan, and Luke, all attended Willamette High School. So we're Willamette High School aficionados, the Wolverines, and out here in Bethel, not too far from where we live. Today, I had the pleasure, having taken our three children to high school, Willamette High School for years, sometimes very early in the morning, to take our grandchild for the first time to high school at Willamette High School today. And so Dionisio Gomez, who our grandson, is at Willamette High School, just like our kids. And to me, it's poignant, but it's also very joyful to see the next generation of this family attending Willamette High School.
Congratulations, Commissioner. Are there, I'm going to move now to a review of assignments unless I've missed anyone as it relates to any of the items we've covered thus far. Mr. Mokrohayski, review of assignments.
So I don't have any new assignments made so far. You do have a work session tomorrow morning, so there could be things that come out of that, but nothing new from today's meeting so far.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other business any commissioners would like to bring before this body?
Can we go back to the consent calendar? Just kidding.
Commissioner Trieger, I appreciate you were raising your hand. So yes, Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. I just was hopping around since it's the Easter season.
Yeah.
Monday meeting. I thought I would just, since we're doing so great for time, I would just ask the county administrator if you wanted to offer anything. It was just so delightful and such an honor to host the first gentleman of the United States here in Lane County and some other dignitaries. And I just wondered if you could share a little bit with how that came about, how they learned of our work here, and arranged to have that tour and how it went. If you have any feedback for us, because that was really very exciting.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner Trieger. I think what I'd love to do is, if you want to hear more, ask Karen Gaffney to pop on either later or maybe tomorrow morning to give you an update. What we found out actually from the city of Eugene, that it's my understanding that the White House reached out to the governor's office and Congressman DeFazio's office. We found out through the city of Eugene that the second, is that right? Second gentleman? Is that how we refer? Okay, thank you. We're breaking all kinds of ground here. So
Second
say it again.
He's the second gentleman.
Thank you. The second gentleman. That's not at all confusing. So we were really excited to learn that the second gentleman was visiting the community, came to Eugene, to Wow Hall, wanted to participate, and I think was really interested in the role of cahoots and the serving of the underserved population, very interested in our vaccination process. So they asked for a point of contact at the county, and we gave them Karen Gaffney as our Director of Health and Human Services, and one of the things we pitched to the White House was, we'd love to have you come to one of our mass vaccination clinics or and see sort of how we're running those large events. As often is the case, the White House gets to decide where the dignitary goes, and they very appropriately selected Wow Hall to see that. So it looks like the governor was there. I think the mayor was there, and we did try to secure some additional spots for the chair of the board and other commissioners, but they were pretty restrictive in the attendance there. But really happy to see the second gentleman just sort of elevating and putting a spotlight on the good work that's happening in vaccinations on a national level. And actually, I saw some social media posts directly from the second gentleman with pictures and Governor Brown in the background. So it was, on the whole, it was a great way to sort of highlight not only the important work happening around vaccinations, but particularly for the underserved populations in our community.
I'm going to presume you don't have to call him the second gentleman. I'm guessing we will all become very familiar with the second gentleman. Are there any other items from any commissioners? Then this meeting is not adjourned, but we are in recess until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you all very much. See you tomorrow morning.